What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another SGN video where it's all same all the time. And I do apologize, as you can tell, I am sick. I am under the weather. My voice is all messed up. Fighting through it the last couple days, but I wanted to bring you guys this video because I know a lot of you guys have been waiting patiently. The NBA season's right around the corner, and a lot of people are itching just to get started with some sort of MyNBA action. Now, I do want to go ahead and let you guys know that what I've tested here is with the attention to detail roster. I've been using their test versions. They're not officially out for release, but what they're still finishing on will have zero effect on what's happening inside here. So I just want to let you know that. That means if you choose to use these sliders and settings with 2K default, there might be a few things changed, mostly with progression and regression and the stats based on how they shoot and stuff like that. Otherwise, everything else should work fine. And if you don't know what the attention detail roster is, you've been living under a rock for the last couple of years. It's the best thing that could happen to 2K, as 2K rosters are absolute trash. So just know that my gameplay sliders that I'll be releasing going forward, of course, are with ATD in mind, and this is already for ATD. So let's go ahead and hop into the video, kind of go over everything now. Because attention detail is not officially released, I wasn't going to go ahead and take the time to create a scenario using unfinished rosters. I will create a scenario once they release, but until then, you're just going to have to follow along and go through the gameplay. I do recommend, it's not on here right now, but I do recommend turning G League off. I know how big of an impact the G League is in the NBA right now, but what I'm seeing is some of those players are just, I don't know, progressing a little too much maybe, and it's kind of thrown off the rosters a little bit in the off season. Now you can keep it on if you want to. I'm leaning towards having it off. I just want to just let you guys know that before we get going. Also, I tested this with 2K default rosters. Now there is a guy, 2K default draft classes. Now there is a guy who makes attention detailed draft classes every year. For me on PlayStation 5, I don't know who he is on Xbox, but it's Jeff Rule on PS5. There's no draft classes out yet, so I couldn't use that. So just know that this should even be better once we actually get his draft classes available, but for now I had to use what I had available. So anyway, set up, a lot of this is just personal preference here. Off-season auto, again, all personal preference. Nothing really that's super important here. Features, progressive fatigue on, team chemistry on, rule changes. I have it off just because I don't ever go through rule changes. Totally up to you. Make sure all the action stuff is turned off, other than autosave after actions. That's actually a good one. It keeps your game saved whenever you make a change, which is good to make sure you don't lose anything in the draft class quality at 33. This is a sweet spot. You will still get really good players, but you're not going to get a draft class where it floods the talent pool and impacts the rosters negatively. Injuries, career injury frequency at 5. Difficulty, we had to make a couple changes here. CPU reciting aggressiveness had to be bumped up to 85. I was just noticing too many teams letting go some of their really, really good players, like not even making a run at them, just letting them go. So we didn't want that. Also, 2K still can't figure out morale. It's a really cool idea, but extremely poorly implemented. You got people who are starting on your team and getting plenty of minutes, and they're bitching and upset about nothing, and you have no idea why. It doesn't tell you why, and you don't know how to fix it. And it impacts so many things. So for now, morale difficulty 0, morale effects 0. Chemistry difficulty 60 and effects at 100 is a sweet spot. You'll be rewarded for playing the same group of guys, not making trades, and it's not overpowered at 60 as well. So here we go. That's the rest of it. Again, I'm not going to go over every little thing just because my voice is it's hard right now, and every time I talk, it makes me want to cough. and coughing hurts, so bear with me. Simulation sliders, feel really, really happy with where these are at right now. The one thing I want to talk about is assists. Even with assists set to 1, teams will still average 30 assists a game. It is what it is. There's no way, there's nothing else you can do. Now, the other thing about assists is, like last year, it is tied to the regression slider. So what you have to do is, in the regular season, you're going to set assists to 1 for all the simulation, and then before you go into the off season, right after the NBA finals have finished, you need to jack this up to 57. 57 is what the regression slider is. But because they're tied to each other, if you leave assists at 57, the regression slider will be 57. If you put it at 1, the regression slider is 1. We only want that during the regular season, as players don't regress during the regular season, only the off season. So make sure you make this change in the off season before you move past the NBA finals. It's a big one. Everything else here, I'll kind of let you guys just cop. I'm pretty happy with the shot selection and percentages, but if you do want to go ahead and move them up, I'd say you could. I wouldn't touch 3-point percentage or free throw percentages, as those are very realistic. You could go ahead and maybe bump up some of these percentages if you wanted to just increase the percentage overall in the NBA just a little bit. But I like it where it's at. So anyway, it's up to you. Here's the stat distribution. We had to jump up shot distribution to 75 to get star players averaging the point totals that they needed to be. They just weren't taking enough shots. So going up to 75, you'll now actually get the star players averaging upwards of 30, 32, 33 points per game. Anything lower than this, they will not average that. Alright, let's move on here. Ticker. This is completely user preference. Alright, let's get out of here. We'll go to the tuning sliders. Trades. We need to have everything on here other than trade override needs to be off. I had this off just for simulation, but this is definitely on. And then trade approval. This has to be on. I have seen some of the worst trades from the CPU to CPU go through that would never happen, like Damian Lillard for Steph Curry and Giannis for Kawhi Leonard. Just ridiculous. You have to have this on, and you have to nix these, because those trades, when they occur, because the contract sizes are so big, they screw up a lot of things, including bird rights and how team salary looks. So make sure that you have this on and you reject those trades. Down here, I'll kind of just let you guys follow along, pause the screen as you need to import these or put these in on your screen. And I do apologize, I don't have a scenario available, but we don't have anything available for me to make a scenario at, as the rosters are still being made. But again, stay tuned. You know, if you follow me on Twitter or in the Discord, I will announce when I have a scenario available for you just to download, which will take out a lot of the work for you. And of course, if you enjoy this content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Really helps me out, man. I put in a lot of time and effort into this every year. A lot of people use my settings and my sliders every single year, and they do not throw me a subscribe, they do not throw me a like. Please don't be that person. It literally takes a second of your time. It costs you no money, and it really helps me out. Appreciate it. Means a lot. Alright, progression. We already talked about this. So as you can see, we left assists at 1, and guess what? Player progression rate is set to 1. That's fine during the regular season. Just to reiterate, when you go into the off season, this must go up to 57. Regular season, leave it at 1. Here are the trading effects. We had to tweak this again because players were just improving a little too much, too unnecessarily. So we tweaked these from last year. but we're getting a pretty solid balance in how overalls are playing out year over year. And it'll only get better when we get the Jeff Rule draft classes and the custom draft classes for ATD versus having to use 2K default, which they could tell you all the things wrong with 2K default. I could spend an hour telling you all the things wrong with it too. It's just awful. Excuse me. We don't touch the progression, decline, growth, and peak phases. We just leave it default. Contracts. Here we go. Inflation 45. Stock cap 126. We tweaked some of this as well. Minimum rating 67, max 89. The rest of the stuff I was able to actually keep based on last year. Everything else worked out. I had to tweak a couple of those other things as well, just to get realistic salary. All right, guys, those are the MyNBA sliders. Now, I did go ahead and I simulated a season. We're a couple years in here, but I will show you the stats that I'm getting with the simulation sliders, so you can get an idea. If you don't like it, you can tweak it, but you can see points per game we're fairly close to NBA averages. Field goals attempted were right there. The NBA average is 88, and we got a few teams that are above 88, and we got a few teams below, and we're still right there in the 88 averages. One thing that would improve scoring totals would be the field goal percentages. They are indeed probably a little low for NBA averages, with the top team being 45% and the lower being 40. So if you want to bump those up, I would say don't touch 3-point percentage, because we're solid on 3-point percentage, with the highest team shooting 37 and the lowest 31, with an average in the NBA of 34%. This is on par. So you can't touch 3-point percentage. What you can do is, if you want to, you can lower 3-point attempts made and have them shoot other shots that have a higher success rate. It's up to you if you want your overall field goal percentages to be higher. It's where you can play around with it. Free throw percentages, I feel like, are very solid. Rebounding numbers, defensive rebound numbers are really great. Assists, again, guys, with it at 1, we have 5, 6, a whole bunch of teams 30 assists a game, even with it set to 1. It's broken. There's just nothing we can do about it. So it is what it is. Turnovers per game, we got teams topping between 17 and 14, which is very realistic. So again, I feel pretty strongly about a lot of this, but there's obviously, if you want to tweak a few things, there's an idea for you. But anyway, guys, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. And yeah, as always, stay tuned to the next video. Peace.